Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 3, Porter vs Prada.
Bro. How long are you gonna like name episode numbers?
Forever.
That's whack. You just gotta go, bro.
So listen. Today is a special day because we have a special guest.
Yes.
We have one of the most interesting men in the world.
Yes.
Literally. And I did not know that till today.
Yes.
We've known each other for a year. Thanks.
No, but I more than a year, but I can explain that later. Yeah, but it's different. I didn't know you.
I got you.
Today I got to know you.
I got it.
Before we go there, we had a small discussion. And I'm not going to tell you who I had it with because it might be embarrassing to them. Your last name is Steingraber. Like, won't you be my Graber? Right?
Won't you be my Graber? I've never heard of that.
But that's how you pronounce it?
Steingraber, yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure.
It rhymes with neighbor.
Yeah, we were just making sure.
Steingraber.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jon Steingraber in the house tonight. If you don't know him, he is the star of A&E's 24-hour flip. He takes your home, or he finds houses. Sometimes Lenny does. And he flips it in 24 hours. 2 12-hour days, correct?
That's right. We renovate it in 24 hours.
Total renovation.
Never been done before.
In history.
We're the fastest fucking flippers in the world.
Yes.
He faster than the ancient Egyptians. This guy is amazing. I want to get into a nice, deep conversation because this guy, I'm going to say this, and I'm very prideful. I'm trying to do better about my life. But today, I was inspired by another man, and I can say that out loud. And now, when I met you, I think in 2019, you had some type of, I think the same event you do in, where is it? In North Jersey. You just did it.
You mean the Westwood?
Maybe.
In Garwood?
Garwood, yeah. I think it was in the same place.
NJRSN.
Yeah, I think it was the same place. And I saw you speak.
Wait, you went to NJRSN?
I was there. I'm everywhere, even if you don't know I'm there.
You usually got a camera.
Yeah. So I was there and I heard you speak and I was like, wow, he's good. So I'm an MC for 20 years. I do the ball dropping Times Square. I know what I'm doing, but I'm the guy that makes everybody smile, laugh, and have the greatest time ever. But I was never the guy who could be like impressive. Like he could move people in an emotional way, in their hearts and their minds. And I'm like, wow, he's good. I wonder where he learned that. Now I know you developed that over time, but after hearing and seeing your story today, I understood.
But you got to tell people how you got the story.
I think we need to, before we go there, I just want to say, back for the second time, Lenny Hernandez in the house, my brother.
What up? Lendo.
I think Lenny was waiting. He's like, what the hell is going on?
Look. Right now, I'm gonna pan the camera to Lenny because he has the Andrew Tate Illuminati sign in his crotch right now, so I know what that means.
That's
he's ready to go.
It's just the way.
It's either that or vagina. Anyway, we got Prada Jones in the building each and every week.
Come on, bro. I don't need any introduction, bro.
Yes, you do.
The people know me, bro.
Nah, they gotta know. This clip might be shown in India to next week.
And then we got our guy, America's favorite.
That's my nickname now.
C-Po, Chris Porter.
Yeah.
Let's
I
go.
don't know which one it is.
Yeah, you're gonna ruin
All right, so let's go back to the flipping first, okay? So I don't even want to go back to how that started in the first place. How the hell do you flip a house in 24 hours? So for people that don't know what that means, I just learned over this year, right? I know you renovate a home, and I learned, oh, look at that window costs this much. We got to do the bathroom. We got to do. I'm a novice, so you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna sound like that, right? That takes months, 6 months, 7 months,
or
8 months. Contractors finding the right people, mistakes happening, expenses that you didn't know were there, and you do it in 2 12-hour days. That sounds impossible.
It does until you see it, right? You got to see it to believe it. And what you break it down to, like if any, and I don't care what industry you're in, every industry you can take out the inefficiencies, right? Like I don't care what you do, right? Like everybody can look at this show and be like, wait a second, I could do what I do faster, better, more efficiently. I was just talking to somebody today, over at CAA, a talent agency, and they were talking about like your show inspired us to do things faster, to do things more efficiently. Because if you can renovate a house where traditionally it takes, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever, what can I do faster, right? Can I get my credit, score up faster? Can I get lines up faster? Can I get a mortgage faster? Can I get, everything, just thinking like that. So that's what I love about the show. It really is disruptive in one of the most archaic industries in the world, right?
Right.
Construction.
Right.
Right. Traditionally, if you work with contractors, you know how it is, right? It's like every excuse, it rains like for 4 minutes and they're like, I can't go. It's raining today. Right. So it's really interesting, but it comes down to man hours or working hours. That's it. If you buy a house right now and you're going to renovate it over 4 to 6 months, it's only going to take like 1,000 working hours. All we do is get more people, prepare a lot more. In real estate, it's location, location, location. In rehabbing, it's preparation, preparation, preparation. And that's it. We just condense it down, prepare like crazy. We have our proprietary technology that we utilize, and we sequence everything out, and we get it done.
Yeah. Let me ask: is when you do these homes, is it only single families, or could you do the same thing with a 4-unit or whatever? Like, is it a set amount of units that you can do it with or for?
Well, the 2-unit that we did on the show, I think it was the 4th episode. We didn't make it in 24 hours. We made it in 30-something hours.
Okay.
Like, we stayed up till 1 a.m. to get it done. So you could do it. There's just a lot more that could go wrong, especially like for us, we have one set of plumbers, one set of electricians, right? So now they got to do both kitchens, both sets of bathrooms, all that. So it complicates the sequence because you're like coming here and then they're going up. And if anything goes wrong, you're screwed.
Sure.
So there is a limit. You asked me to do a 47-unit building in 24 hours. I don't think I can do it.
Right.
But it really does come down to preparation and just, working hours. That's what, it comes down to. And everything's like that.
With a preparation, if the floors need to be done and nobody can walk on the floor that needs to be done, how do you manage the order of operations?
Well, that's why we don't do, like, for example, we'll do luxury vinyl laminate instead of doing hardwood floors and sanding and refinishing. Right. So, like, we typically don't do tile on the floor. We could do it on the walls, like in the bathrooms, or on the backsplash in the kitchen because nobody's walking over that, right? That's one of the last thing that gets done in a bathroom and in a kitchen. Right. But on the floor, you're right. You 100% can't. So what do we put? We put luxury vinyl laminate, and it looks great. And not every house qualifies for a 24-hour flip, right? If you do a $2 million house, like, you can't put LVL on it.
Yeah, it's like a 72-hour flip.
Yeah, maybe a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still amazing though, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it shows people what's possible. That's what I like about it. A lot of people are like, "Oh, how do you do this? This is bullshit. The quality sucks." And I'm like, "Come to the house." Like these houses, the same thing happens. Regular buyers come out and then they get a home inspection done. So I can't do shit work. Like, it's the same people doing the work in the same amount of time. It's just more people doing it. That's what people don't get, right? And contractors, I've had to convince them to do this because they're like, "What are you talking?" Oh, of course. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, the money's calling.
Yeah. So, you have to convince people like this can be done.
Yeah.
And change their mindset. And it's, you just got to get that team together. So if you're flipping houses, get your shit together to do it faster.
So how's it feel being a TV star? And why aren't you managing the TV star? Are you managing the TV star?
No.
You need to slide up in that
TV star.
What's your relationship?
You're a star on TV.
What do you guys do together? Because you guys are
They date.
A team, right? They date.
Yeah, Lenny helps me out with acquisitions a lot. And not just acquisition, I mean everything. The technology piece.
Len Dogs.
Everything.
Sick with it.
All big picture stuff.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have got as many properties as I did last year.
You see that, Len Dog?
Well, I do what I do.
Lenny's quiet, but he's a ninja.
He's a ninja. He's a sniper.
He's a quiet ninja.
I might be America's favorite, but Lenny's my favorite. Let me tell you something.
I'm telling you.
Lenny's the key to a lot of this. Okay,
Yeah.
Lenny's the key.
Absolutely.
So you are a TV star. because you speak as if you're not on often. You say certain phrases. I'm like, I don't understand this guy.
You're like a housewife, bro.
And I get
You're on that level right now.
No.
Bro, housewives are popular, bro. I'm telling you.
Yo, none of them are even housewives. Like, that's so funny.
So it's gonna happen soon. I know you're a couple episodes in, but you haven't walked into I don't want to say ShopRite. Where do rich people shop?
Wegmans.
Whole Foods.
Whole
There you
Foods,
go.
baby.
You weren't supposed to answer that. So no one's noticed you outside anywhere yet?
No, yeah, a couple people.
Oh, that's awesome. How'd that feel?
I don't care.
How do you
It's not that you care.
How do you
about
deal with it though? Because I get recognized outside, and I'm like, "What's up?" I mean, like,
No, that's it. I mean, some people, like I went to, a golf club that I'm part of, and one of the people came up to me and was like, "You're on TV," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I get a picture?" I'm like, "Okay." And
cool.
take a picture. It's all good. I don't know. I only got recognized like twice.
So far.
That's not a TV star status right there.
It's a TV. This is. I'm gonna tell you right now. This. You know what's funny? You don't care about that part because of who you are and where you came from. You understand?
Yeah, I know. I
so
could care less.
it's not a thing for you, and you didn't dream of being a TV star. Mm-hmm. It's not like I made it to my dreams, but it's got to be a good feeling to be recognized for your work in a more broad way. You don't care.
No, one thing I do. No, one thing I do like is when I get called and they tell us what the ratings are for the show, like that people are actually watching it and it's doing better than the other show that we were in that time slot. That makes me feel like, it's working. The show is working. People like it. People enjoy it and they're continuing to watch it. That is like.
Yeah, because you're a numbers guy. You guys,
validation.
Yeah. So that's the validation for you, the numerics?
No, knowing that people are watching it and they're getting something out of it enough to spend
more time,
an hour of their day,
yeah.
right? Because nowadays, I mean, that's what matters, right? Like
the title alone makes you want to watch 24-hour flip.
Yeah.
That's an amazing title.
Absolutely.
So, how old are you?
I'll be 38 next month.
I knew it.
Are you serious?
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you he was
serious?
late 30s, bro.
What did you think I was?
62?
It's the beard, John.
62. Damn. That 24. I knew it gave me gray hairs and bald spots, but holy shit.
It's the beard. Got the caveman beard.
Yeah, no. I never thought about your age. I never thought about it. I'm realizing that.
How old are you?
I'll be 26 next month.
You're right.
What?
No, I mean, no, you're serious.
No. I'm 40.
I mean, I wouldn't guess that you're 40 either, but I wouldn't say you're 70.
No, I know. I'm kidding. I just never. You're like what's it called when you can't? Your age is
Irrelevant.
Yeah, it's like not applicable to. I don't know why. Prada too. Prada's young, but he don't come off as young.
33.
Yeah, he's very young.
That's crazy. I'm not gonna ask.
No.
Linda.
Linda. That's Uncle Len over there, man. Leave him
You
alone.
won't get the truth anyway.
Okay, so I was depressed this morning. Before I go into my depression, how was everybody else's day? Because we don't.
That's how we start.
I tell you what, because men don't ask that question to each other.
That's true.
We don't care about. Nobody cares.
You know
about
what men also don't do?
What's up?
They don't tell other men like they're proud of them. Like, yo, Len, I'm proud of you, man. Like the stuff you've done is amazing.
Really appreciate it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like-
Chris, you too. John,
Same here, man.
Ruben, you're here. Like you guys are really amazing dudes, but men don't do this.
No.
They really don't do this.
No.
So true.
Not much.
You know?
Not much. You're right.
Yeah.
You got to do it more.
Got to do it more, man. Big up your bros.
That's right.
BigUpYourBros.com.
Len's gonna buy it. He's probably in his phone right now. Like,
Ruben's doing that for you.
It's already done. He's got AI in the back. It just transcribes everything and takes action.
So I've been a little stressed out, right? I've been stressed out. And this morning I was overwhelmed. Got to get this podcast. John's coming over. I had to meet Prada this morning to buy another camera.
Yep.
Lot was on my mind. And then I was like, I didn't get to watch the documentary John sent me. Maybe that'll cheer me up. Wrong. I was on turnpike. Where do I start with this?
I don't know, because
Does anybody know
to
this?
talk about this is crazy because they haven't seen it. They can't even see it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, can we even talk about any of that?
No, you could.
Does anybody know any of this?
Some people know my story, yeah.
Because you told me some of your story at a meeting, and I heard it, but I didn't fully consume
Oh, you can't, yeah.
until it's really drawn out. Then you hear the details. So you guys out there might be looking at a good-looking, successful, white male TV star. Are you even white?
No, you didn't watch the documentary.
I know. They sent them.
Bro, what the?
Yeah, they got white Spaniards and black Spaniards. Okay, but it's
No, I was born here. My dad's American.
okay. So,
My mom's Uruguayan, and
but what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people may look at you on TV that don't know you, may get on A&E, like, look, another successful white guy that's family had money, and your story is exactly
The opposite.
the scariest, darkest thing I've ever seen. And I literally had to suck up a tear in the car. It was embarrassing. Nobody was watching, but it hurt. What can you tell us about your beginnings?
I could tell you whatever you want.
I don't feel
It's
comfortable
hard.
asking.
He's scared to ask.
It's hard in the context, right?
Right,
because
right.
the reason I did the documentary is because basically that documentary came out of this, right? I used to speak for, a big real estate education company. So this came up, I was speaking and training on real estate. And, I was working with this guy named Than Merrill, right? He's a big real estate guy. He actually had his own TV show, Flip This House, a long time ago. Or he was on that TV show. And one day, he asked me to speak and do a training. He's like, hey, you're one of our students. You've learned a lot. Let me put you on stage and train other people. And one of the things on his syllabus was tell an emotional story. Swear to God. It was like rehabbing, wholesaling, raise private money, goal setting, boom, boom, boom. And then tell an emotional story. He didn't, he just said tell an emotional story. And I was like, I got one, And I started telling my story from stage. And when I did that, like, I got such a bigger response from telling my personal story and the lessons. It's not the story, right? It's the end of the story for me, right? That I want to share with people, but it puts the lessons in context. It's like anything else, right?
Sure.
If you meet somebody, it's like, well, what do you know about that person? That's the context that it sets. Well, for me, I would spend a day talking about real estate and how to buy, fix, and sell houses and make a profit and financial freedom and how to save money on taxes. And then day two, I would do that again. And at the end of the day, I would tell my story. And I would catch people by surprise. They're like, what the hell? I thought this guy was, like some rich white boy.
Right.
Like you said,
Right,
you're right on point.
Right.
And then, like, they would realize, like, oh my God. And they would relate to parts of the story and say, man, if he did it, then I can do it. And that's why I share it. Because it's important, to show that if you're successful, and I believe this wholeheartedly, if you've been through a lot of shit in your life, you have to be successful. Like, you don't have a choice. Like, you have to be an example, because that shows other people that even though you went through this, and that, like, you can be successful. And it's a non-negotiable. Failure is not an option.
Right. It's funny how, and I agree, but it's funny how when different people see different stories, they get different things from it.
Right. What'd you get from it?
First, the initial thing. Well, first, we're talking about something nobody knows about.
I know that's tough, right?
So your early years were a bit bumpy.
That's one way to put it.
How do I ask this question?
You want me to just tell
do
a
it.
short version?
Just do it.
I'll tell you guys a short version of the story.
Yeah.
And the documentary will come out. Now, whether it's coming out on a platform or on my social media, that's to be determined. That's why it's not out yet. Because the goal of the documentary is to get it out to as many people as possible. And I don't have the following that Netflix has, right?
Right.
So if I can get it on a platform, that's going to reach more people. That's the idea, right? So I'm just waiting for their yeses or nos, to decide that. But I'll tell the short version so everybody can kind of understand. So when I was 10 years old, I lived with my dad. My parents were divorced. And one night, I'll just fast forward to when I was 10. I woke up. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I heard these like loud screams, crazy screams. And I got up. My 2 brothers were sleeping in the room with me, but they didn't get up. I ran to the kitchen, and my mom was laying on the floor, and my dad was on top of my mom, stabbing her and punching her. And I tried to stop him. And I did everything I could, and I couldn't stop him. He stabbed her 12 times until she stopped breathing, and he killed her. And then he put my 2 brothers and myself in my mother's car, because my dad didn't even own a car. His car had broke down, and he sold it, and he didn't have a car. So he put us in our mother's car, and going like 80 miles per hour, he drove us right into a bridge. Right? It was a murder-suicide.
After he told you guys you don't need your seatbelts today.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those are the details, right?
Yeah.
And fast forward, I testified against my father. He got 40 years in prison, 30 years for manslaughter, 10 years for child endangerment. That's for crashing us into a bridge, right? Because he tried to kill us all.
Right.
And he literally said that at court. Not the smartest thing in the world, but he said that at court. He said, I just wanted all of us to be together in heaven. That's right before the judge sentenced him. And he was sobbing, It was very, very, very bad.
Can I put a detail in from the?
Yeah, good.
So at the time, I know you're still young. So
Yeah.
how did you know that your dad wasn't like crazy in the head? Because I know in the story it said he was going to get off on being crazy, right? Like,
right.
But
I
then
actually
you came
didn't.
in,
I didn't
yeah.
tell everybody at first that I witnessed it, because when the way I grew up, it wasn't to trust police officers. Like, we just never trusted police officers, right? Like, police weren't always on your side.
We're black, we know. But thanks for
I'm just saying, but that's how you might not think that of me, right? I don't know.
Right. No, yeah.
So when they were asking me questions, it wasn't like I don't know what the fuck is going on, so I can't do this yet. And then in family therapy, that's where it came out, because we had this family therapist because my uncle adopted us, my mom's brother. So in family therapy, this lady Alicia, she was like, basically talking about stuff, and they're like, let's talk about your dad. And your dad is claiming to be insane or innocent by reason of insanity. And I was like,
no,
what the hell is she talking about? Like, now he's trying to get off. And it got me so mad. And I was just like, I need to tell them.
Okay.
Because I knew that I was the key to that not happening.
Okay.
And I wanted to defend it. I didn't know how it worked. I thought that you got out. I thought that if you were proven innocent by reason of insanity, I thought you were innocent and you were out.
Right.
I didn't know you went to a hospital and you were still incarcerated. Like, I didn't know that. And I was like, no, if he gets out, he's going to kill us. He wasn't crazy. Like, I was there. I saw what he did. I literally asked him when I was in the room with him, and this is in my book. It's not even in the documentary. I was like, do you know who that is? Because I was like, there's no way that my dad could know that this is my mother, because he would never do this to my mother. I was like, Dad, do you know who that is? That's like the mentality I was in at 10 years old. I was like, this guy can't freaking know who this is. He would never do this. And anyway, fast forward, my dad was diagnosed with, a long time before that, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So he had a mental illness, and he was supposedly having an episode. But I testified against my dad, and that's how the family therapist, when I told her, I was like, he wasn't insane. She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I saw what he did. I woke up that night. And she was like, what? And I was like, and she was like, give me the details. And I told her, and she was like, holy shit. And she took me right to the police station. And then they video recorded it, and I told them. And then that's why I was the only one testifying in court against my dad. But it took 7 months from the day it happened to when that happened.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it was crazy because nobody really knew how that happened. And, everybody was obviously shocked. Because my dad and mom didn't even live together. They were divorced. They're like, why was she there? My dad called my mom and he lured her to our apartment. He said one of us was sick. And he told her that one of us was sick. And my mom, being an amazing mom, she came over. And we knew that from her fiance. She just got remarried from her husband. She just got remarried 2 weeks before my dad killed her. And I think
that was the reason, maybe.
I think that made him lose it.
Yeah.
He was like, it's over. My life is over. I don't have a family anymore. I don't have a good, he made $35,000 a year. He was, he gave up.
And so reading in between the lines in your story, because I'm watching the documentary and I thought it was going to get better after this, but
Yeah.
I'm like, now he's going to become a super real estate expert and make billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? It made my problem seem a bit small as I was driving down the turnpike.
Yeah.
But how did you not feel like you were going out of your mind? Because sometimes I feel that without that story, without that, how do you not feel? Because I know when things happen like that, you feel like it's a dream. That's what I wanted to wonder. Like, did you feel like it was real to you?
No, yeah, always. I mean, it was as real as it can get. I mean, I can still see my mom, like, on the floor, drowning in her own blood, screaming like fucking crazy.
Horrific, bro.
Like, that doesn't go away,
So
it's not, like, to me, I look at it, here's what I always, and this is a good message, I think, for people that have gone through a traumatic event and were, victims, is give it a reason, and you could give things whatever reason you want. Like, I gave it a reason. I was like, my dad gave up on life. And then I was like, I can be like my dad and give up, or I could prove my dad wrong, that no matter what you go through in life, you could still be an example. You could still be a good person. You could still be able to love. Because I went through a lot, as you can imagine, when things like that happen. Your father's I mean, I don't know you guys, like, what if you grew up with, your mom and your dad and all that. But, when you have your father betray you and he tries to kill you after killing your mother, like, you're going to have walls, right? Like, and some people will never overcome that, and I was able to overcome that because I realized, and I don't know at what point it was, but I realized I was like, I'm pushing everybody away that loves me. Everybody that loves me, I'm like telling them to F off. As soon as they get too close, I'm like, this person's going to hurt me. They're going to kill me, like my dad did. and that logic is illogical. If you think about it, it's illogical. It's a defense mechanism to try to never be hurt again. But then you're never going to love again. So when I realized what I was doing and why I was pushing people away, I was like, why am I always alone? Why do I do this to people that care about me? Why do I push them away? And I was like, it makes sense. It's because my dad. And I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to because that's, and it comes down to this, like, if you've been raped, if you've been abused, if you've been anything that's happened to you in your life, if you look at your life, and I know this is super analytical and, kind of, numbers. But if you look at your life, how long are you going to live? Right? Like 80 years, 90 years, 100 years?
If you're lucky.
Yeah, like I saw my dad kill my mom. It was minutes of my life. There is no fucking way that I'm going to let a few minutes of my life determine 90 years of my life. Like, I'm not going to let that happen. Like, it already took enough from me. I'm not going to let, like, let's say you were raped. How long was that? How long was it? And maybe you were raped over
6 to 8 inches. I don't remember. No.
You get what I'm saying, though, right?
Seconds, maybe.
It's gotta be. No, but I'm being dead serious. And look, I'm not trying to say if you were abused in any way that I know what you went through. I know what I went through. I don't know what you went through. But what I'm saying is, if you just look at it from a logical standpoint and you go, how much time am I going to let that continue to steal from me?
Right.
And be the version of myself that I know I could be. How much time are you going to let that happen? Because at the end of the day, you're going to die. And then you're going to look back and be like, damn.
When you die, you're going to look back.
Well, right before you die,
okay.
Right? When you're 80, when you're sitting on a rocking chair in a porch, right? If you believe in heaven and you're looking back down at yourself, I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys get what I'm saying.
But my thing
damn,
is
this is a rough fucking crowd.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yo, so my thing is, what you're saying is so powerful and it's so true, but how did you...
Yeah, where's the bounce back? How did you make it through all of that? Because the people that I know from these ghettos that see trauma, they see their families die in front of them, they just, they take that experience and they go left, bro. They never go right. Not a lot of people can come up here and say, I seen this traumatic, incidents and it made me who I am today. Like, it actually helped me become who I am.
Yeah,
Is that your story?
I mean, look, if you look at any example of successful, everybody's got a story, right? And I'll tell you when it happened for me, because I fucking know. Yeah. I know when the moment where I went from being thinking about things one way to another, and it had all to do with gratitude. And I know that sounds cliche, but just listen to this part of the story. And it's not in the documentary. So I was at my grandma's apartment. We lived in South America. Okay. I was 14 years old because I had to move to South America when I was 14 to live with my grandma because my uncle lost his job and, whatever. I was sitting in this second floor apartment, and as you can imagine, like there's like these balconies. Okay. So I was out on the balcony just looking out, I was 14 years old, and I see this like kid. He had like these short shorts on, like all ripped up. He had no shoes, no shirt, dirty. And I was like, what's he doing? He was just waiting on the corner. I was just wondering, like, what is this kid doing? And he just kept like standing there. And then somebody came out of my building and they had a garbage bag in their hand and they threw it in the garbage can. And he was watching them. And then he ran over when they left and he climbed into the dumpster, which in Uruguay, they have like these weird like dumpster things. It's hard to explain because they don't have them here. But like he climbed in there, he grabbed the bag, he opened it up, and he started eating garbage. Like he started eating food out of the garbage. And literally at that moment, my grandma said, dinner's ready behind me. And I was like, where are this kid's parents? And I was like, I know where my parents are, right? Like, they're gone. Like, my dad didn't kill himself yet because he ended up killing himself in prison. But I was like, where's this kid's parents? And then, like, where's his grandma? Because I have grandma. I have my aunt and uncle. And I was like, this kid has nobody. And I started thinking, I was like, there's always somebody that has it worse. Maybe that wasn't the exact thought that went through my mind. But if you look at yourself and your life, we think shit is hard. Shit is not hard for you. I don't care who you are. Because all you have to do is look around, go to New York. Just go to New York.
Go to LA.
Go to LA. Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
just tell me that your life is harder than all these. And that's in the US. Forget it. Like, go to another country.
That's so interesting you're saying that, because when I was listening and watching the documentary, my thought process was, I think he might have the worst story I've ever seen on Amazon Prime, Netflix, HBO, or any Hulu show. So I get the kid had no parents, but goddamn, your short amount of time was traumatic.
Yeah. And everybody doesn't know the rest of the story, but I lost my little brother. So I lost my mom, I lost my dad, and I lost my little brother. And it is a very, it was.
And listen,
you know,
and they'll see it in the
they
future.
Will see it. They will see
but what they don't know, what they can't even feel, is the details of the story. Because even when you were discussing your brother and everything, the way you handle things or even think about things, that's the part that blew my mind. Like, how do you even see things in the positive? No matter what happened, you had like some positive turn to it. You were like, when he didn't take his medicine, he wanted to cut his medicine in half. Right. You were like, the medicine is working because you were having bad thoughts, but you didn't act on those thoughts. I'm like,
right.
I would have been like, yeah, police, come get my brother.
Right.
Yeah. No,
you know what I'm saying? So the
saying.
fact you even think like that, like,
yeah,
I think that's just part of who you are, because you can't even learn that. One thing you said, I had to write it down in the car. You said, you can't be a warning and an example at the same time. You can only be one. I was like, this guy good, man.
That's not mine. That's Tony Robbins.
Oh, you stole it? Oh, the hell with this, man.
It is.
Yo, that's a good line, Tony.
It is. No,
good line, Tony.
Look, I've learned, you know, somebody asked me actually recently, they were like, you're a self-made millionaire. I was like, man, I hate that.
Oh, you got money?
I hate when people say self-made, right? Because I'm not self-made. Every book I've read, every podcast I've listened to, every video I've watched by anybody that taught me anything, any boss I've ever had in my life. I had this entrepreneurial boss in New York City. He was a bar owner. Like, every conversation I've had with this guy and every other person of my friends that have taught me something. I'm not self-made. I'm made of all these people that helped me get to where I am. And that I don't have a problem. Like, everything I've ever learned, yes, some of that is self-authored, but a lot of it is just you put my thoughts into words before I did. You know, when I listen to some people, I'm like, damn, like, this person put my thoughts into words.
Yeah.
Right? And we all feel that way a lot of times because it's true. Like, the whole warning and example thing. I did learn that from Tony Robbins, and he says it. He's like, you can't be a warning and an example at the same time. And it's so true. You can't walk around, you know, being a screw up and then expect other people to not be affected by that. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I could be I could be a warning, like, don't be like that guy. He's a drug addict. He's this. And would it have been easier maybe to numb the pain and go that route and, you know, become an alcoholic like my dad was or whatever? Yeah, but I don't have a mental illness. My dad was a victim. He had paranoid schizophrenia. I don't have paranoid schizophrenia. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a victim too. And that's how I look at it. Like, you saw it in the documentary.
Yeah.
If I had the ability to walk my dad out of prison, I would fucking meet him at that door.
And that's where I wanted to go next, because there was a part, I don't know if you were still obviously you were still in shock. That's what I thought. But then as the story went along, the same backstory of forgiveness kept coming up. Because you said you were in the car was crashed, everyone's hurt, your dad's bleeding, and he reaches out to you and says, will you ever forgive me? Yeah. And then you grabbed his hand and said, I forgive you. And I'm like, and then throughout the story, that backstory of forgiveness kept coming up. And I'm like, this guy's an angel. Like, everything I wouldn't do,
my wife
he did.
I mean, you know, when I was a kid and I forgave my dad in the ambulance, it sucks that they haven't seen it, but because it might sound so weird to them, right? Just listening to this. I didn't know what forgiveness was. And I say that in the document. I had no idea what forgiveness was. I just didn't know if my dad was going to survive.
Oh, he said that to you in the ambulance.
Yeah, like he said that in the ambulance, laying down, bleeding all over the place. You know, I didn't know if I was going to see my dad ever again. He could have died. You know, he was literally, his right ear was down here, hanging by like his skin, bleeding all over. He didn't put his seatbelt on either. He told us not to put our seatbelts on. He didn't put his on either. This was murder, suicide. This was we all go. My mom was first. He probably didn't have it in him to stab us, right? He said, let me put them in a car and drive them into a bridge. We got lucky that we didn't go through, you know, and down, because it would have been over. We got lucky. And how can I throw that away?
Your unlucky your advantage, right?
That's it. That's what it's called. Unlucky advantage.
So, all right, let me lighten up the room a little bit.
Yeah, let's lighten it up.
You know what I mean?
You got
Shots.
I'm very intrigued by real estate these days, and I want to know how you got your first property, John. Like,
Yeah.
you know, most people understand that you have to have some money to get into real estate. Well, these days it's all kind of creative financing and all kind of stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's not how you got your first one.
No, my first deal, it was interesting. So, like I said, my mom's brother adopted us. My uncle's an architect. So we all went to South America, then we all came back. And, you know, when I started getting into real estate, you know, he was always interested in real estate, but he didn't know the investment side.
Yeah.
So when I found my first deal, I bought two family houses. Like I was just on the MLS all the time. I got my real estate license, and I was like, if I get my real estate license, I'll know how to draw up a contract. I'll know how I'll get access to the MLS. I'll be able to get access to houses, you know, with the little key and all that stuff. And that's how I started. And I bought these two family houses. Market crashed right after I bought them.
Before we go further, how did you purchase
Oh.
those two
but
families?
I got mortgages.
Okay.
But that was 2007.
Okay.
Or like 2006.
It was pretty easy at
2007.
that time.
He Prada's saying it like that because
But
a
I
lot
had
of people skip the real
Oh,
details.
no,
And all of a
I
sudden
had-
they got a house.
I
yeah.
had a job. I had a job, and I went and I got a mortgage on these, and they had cash flow. So they take 75% of the income,
Yep.
and they put it towards my income. So with my income and that income, you know, we did it, and that was just multifamilies, and I did it with my uncle. So my uncle helped.
He
with-
co-signed?
Yeah,
Okay.
he like helped me with the financing side of it, right? So we had to put a little bit of money down, and he helped out.
Yeah, nice.
And he had a percentage.
Nice.
Right? Those two I don't even consider my first deals because they were shit. And they were multifamilies, right? And I held them for years because the market crashed, so I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
My first real deal was the next one that I got. It was my third house. And that was a house on the market, on the MLS, believe it or not. It was owned by this old guy. And, you know, I was really into like the zoning, like just understanding zoning. Because I was like, there's got to be some secrets in this. And I realized that on main streets, you guys ever go to a doctor's office, but it's like a house?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so this was just a house that some guy lived in. But like on both sides of him, there was houses that had signs up, like office signs. And I was like, that is not a single family house. That is a commercial property. And I'm a numbers guy, if you can't tell yet. And I was like, what's the dollar per square foot that homes sell for in this area? Residential compared to commercial. And when you looked at commercial properties that were 2,000 square feet versus residential properties that are 2,000 square feet, back then, commercial properties sold for a higher dollar per square foot.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying? So like, it could be the same exact looking property, but one is zoned residential and it would sell for 400 grand, right? $200 a square foot. And then a 2,000 square foot commercial property would sell for 500,000. So it's a higher dollar per square foot. So I figured like, wait, if I could buy that house as a single family, these people don't know. The realtor didn't even know that I could convert it to commercial real quick with literally just telling the town because it's already zoned that I could make money. So I did my due diligence. I literally went into the town and I was like, hey, can I put an office here? And they were like, yeah. I was like, what kind of offices? And they told me insurance, real estate, finance, a bank, you know, whatever. It was professional office stuff, financial institutions, things like that. And I was like, okay. And I did all the comps and I was like, damn, this property's worth more than what they're asking. They were asking $299. So again, I went to my uncle. He was like, you're crazy. He's like, we already got 2 shit properties. He's like, and I was like, no, this is a good one. Right? Like, let's do it. And he was like, no. And I was like, fine, then I'm going to do it without you. And I fear of lost him. Right? And he was like, no, I'll do it. Right? Because he was like, I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
I was like, if you want to quit, you can quit. I'm not quitting. And he went in on it and we made good money on it because I turned around. We put like very little money into it. And it's funny now that, you know, looking back, and I put it on the market and I sold it to Pearl Insurance for $375. I bought it for $287, put very little money into it and made great money on it.
Nice.
We did it in 90 days.
Nice.
So that was my first deal. It was really, I call it HABU, highest and best use. Always look for the highest and best use of a property because sometimes it's not being used as the highest and best use, but they're pricing it as what it's used for, but that's not the highest and best use. Like if you take a double lot, right? There's a house with 2 lots and they're using that other lot as a driveway. That's not the highest and best use. I could put another house there.
Right.
So they might sell it to me as a house with a nice driveway. They're pricing as a house with a nice driveway. And if I do the research, I might be able to put a 2-family there. You see, and that lot maybe is now worth $300.
Right.
And then the house has a smaller driveway, but I get $300 over here. We do that all the time. All the time. I'm doing that now with multiple properties. We took a lot, bought it for $275. We're putting 24 units, getting 24 units approved on it. That 24 units is going to literally be worth probably $900,000. I got it for $275. I'm probably into it for like another $125. So we're turning a $275 lot that we put another $125, $150 in, and it's going to be worth $40,000, $50,000 per approved unit times 24. That's without building it. That's just getting the paperwork saying you're allowed to build a 24 unit there. What's the highest and best use of that property? You know?
Yeah. Did you make up Habu?
Yeah, Habu.
Okay, because
That's something I authored, not Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Ah, there you go.
See that? I told you I got
like-
something.
I'm like, we see all the tips and
tricks.
tricks. We ain't never heard Habu.
I'm telling you, I was in my head like, Lenny, you ain't tell me that one.
I thought you were I thought you were talking about Aladdin's monkey or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Habu, right there.
Yeah, there we go. Yo, so Lenny, how'd you get hooked up with this
So
Interesting man.
It was at his NJRSN.
Yeah.
I was going through some stuff at the time.
what year though?
This was going back 2000 and I think 2000 and
19.
no.
Oh, early.
Way
2000.
before that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say 2009.
And I started that in 2008.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so
2009.
we've had it for a while.
And I'm here, somebody invited me over there, and I'm hearing this guy, this young guy, and I thought I was going through some stuff, and he just talked about his story, and I was just intrigued. I was just like, I got to know this guy. I got to meet this guy. So so after the event and stuff, I met up with him. We had coffee, and I was just blown away. I was just
Took
like,
me on a date.
yeah,
I told you. I told you.
And I've been intrigued with Jon since then. He's a great guy. How you see him is how he is. He's a genuine guy. Always been humble. Always been a good friend, and proud of him.
That's it.
There it is. Yeah, you know, I was just telling somebody today how good Lenny is, right? And I'm not, from how I grew up, and I didn't grow up in the hood or anything like that, but still the surrounding people weren't all the way good, genuine people you could leave your house keys, wife, kids, and money with. And he's that type of guy. So anytime he co-signs another guy like that,
Yeah.
look who that guy ends up being. You know what I'm saying? So I need some new friends. So would you be my Graber?
Let's do it.
Would you be my Graber?
I still don't get that joke. You said that like 3 times already. Would you be my Graber? I don't get it.
Mr. Won't you be my neighbor? Won't
I've
you?
never heard of that.
He did.
Wait, you don't know Mr. You don't know who Mr.
I
Rogers
didn't
is?
have a childhood, bro. Like,
Yeah, Mr.
You're
Rogers,
right.
Yeah,
Damn it.
bro.
Don't feel bad, bro.
Yo, when we're done, I'm
all good.
gonna play all the Disney movies
All right,
back to back for you.
You're gonna binge watch.
You
all
never
the
heard
Disney
"Won't You
joints.
Be My Neighbor"? Whoa!
No, I've never heard that. But it's complicated.
That's why he didn't get it.
Wow!
Yeah. Now I get it. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So, another thing we did not mention. Signature Realty.
Mm-hmm.
You own that?
Yep, my wife and I. She started in 2009. You know.
So you date up. You found money, didn't you, John?
Yeah, exactly. that's why I married her. No, she was.
So what is that for the people listening?
So Signature Realty NJ. We're only in Jersey. We have 6 offices. We're a real estate brokerage. We
yeah, no
help
big
people
deal. Yeah.
buy and sell homes. That's it.
A lot of agents. Number one.
It's a business. It's our business. You know, my wife was a top producing agent when I met her. Actually, my wife, you know, it's funny because I met her at a house, but then
You don't say.
and we didn't. Yeah, exactly. But we didn't hit it off. Like,
Tell us how you hit it off, John.
she came to my event. She came to my Andreas event.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What year?
5 years after I met her, because I met her at a house in Springfield. She did a lot of business in Springfield. I didn't hire her as my agent because, I don't know, we just didn't click, you know? She like pulled up in her Maserati and her little black, you know, little black dress. I was like, nah, I'm not hiring her. This is bullshit.
This is bullshit.
She's like, yeah, I sell 100 homes a year. I was like, babe, I was like, listen, Michelle, if I go on the MLS and I see your name, I'm going to see 100 houses sold by you. Like, I challenged her because I didn't believe it. And she was like, yes, but you're not going to see all of them because a lot of them are exclusives. Like, because they don't end up on the MLS. If you're not in real estate, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I was like, nah, forget it. I just didn't believe her, you know. Now I know that she did sell 100 homes, but she ended up selling that house anyway. She sold it. I listed it. She sold it to a buyer. And then that's it. Like, we never talked again until she came to my event, like 5 years after that.
What year was that?
I don't know, 2016 or so. And then she came to NJRSN and she came up to me after my presentation and she's like, hey, we should do business together. I'm like, oh, okay. And she was like, I own a brokerage down the street. You know, like, let's meet up. She wanted to recruit me because I was a realtor. And she's like, oh, he's got all these people here. He could help me grow the business. She tried to recruit me as an agent. I was like, I'm not an agent. Like, I'm not going to like just come and hang my license here for what? And then I was like, I'll help you build your business if you want. Like, we could do a strategy session. And
Then that's how the first kid was born. The strategy session?
No, but we did this strategy session. You're close. We did this strategy session. And when I do a strategy session with somebody, like, I go deep. I do that. This sounds so bad, but when he cuts this up, I'm fucked. It is funny though.
Second time I cried today. Oh man.
No, I asked deep questions, right? And I fell in love with this girl. I fell in love with her. And that's it. From there, it was over. And then, you know, we partnered up on Signature Realty. Now we're like 400 something agents. And we grew it. And we add value. And that's what it's all about. You just keep growing every year, little by little. Yeah, that's what we've done.
Your agency is the only agency where I meet people. They don't know I know you or you. And they always try to recruit me. So you must have some method that they make money. Because they're like, yo, where do you hang your... I have my license, by the way. I only got it to infiltrate the real estate. And I've never sold any house.
To infiltrate.
Yeah, just to infiltrate.
Most realtors haven't, bro.
No, I like opening doors and we play red light, green light in the empty houses. But your people are always like, it's the only real estate agency that there are people like, hey, you should hang your license over here. I'm like, I don't sell any houses. Like, it doesn't matter. This is just where you should hang it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, they're fans. We got a lot of good fans.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So how do you get financing for all the business you do?
Oh, I raise private money primarily. Aside from using our own money, we raise money from individuals that just want to diversify their money and put their money to work. And typically we give them 8% interest and they get a lien on the house, right? Just like you would go and get it from a bank and that's it. Like, let's say you had $500,000 sitting in the bank right now with everything that's going on with banks. Do you want it in the bank?
Or do I want it with John?
Or do you want to put it in real estate? And you could buy a house, right, and put it there and be a landlord, right? And sometimes that's passive if you have a property manager, and sometimes it's not, right? Or you could just invest it in one of my quick flips, right? We do them quick, right? And then you get your money back plus 8% interest, right? Annualized. And then you can invest it into the next project, right? And if you find something better to invest it in, then you do that, right? So you're investing in like 3-month increments. It's pretty great. Does that make sense? Or
It makes a lot of sense.
okay, I don't know if you...
No. It sounds great.
Yeah, that's what we do. On 90% of our projects, that's what we do. We borrow money from private individuals that want to put their money to work at an 8% consistent rate of return, and it's secured by real estate. So when I buy a house, I mean, it's got to have profit in it, and I've done all my numbers, right? Like, that's the idea. So unless I make $100,000 in mistakes, which is pretty hard to do, right? Nobody's going to lose money. Not to say that I haven't lost money. I've lost money on like 5 or 6 deals in my career, but I've done hundreds. So, and my lenders have never lost money.
When
So that's what we do.
that's a good one. So when you raise private money like that, and let's say you do lose, do your investors lose as well?
No, because I put up money on every deal, right? Okay. So like if they were, even if they were 100% financed, like if I lose money, it's a little bit, because I basically, the way I look at it, if I don't make my profit target, I lost money. Like if I was supposed to make 50 and I made 30,
wow.
Well, I lost 20. You see what I'm saying? Like I was supposed to make 50,
right?
But I didn't make 50. I made 30. So when I first went into this, I wanted to make 50. Now I only made 30. So the way I look at it is I lost 20. You see what I'm saying? Or no?
No, I totally understand. You're not basing your
loss
on...
Everybody's still making their money.
Right.
And I have been negative. Like there's one on the TV show. I can't really like give details because they didn't come out yet. But if you watch the show on Saturday at 12 on A&E, like you'll see, like we're very authentic with the...
I love it.
You like that, right?
Oh, that was nice. He's trained, bro. Seasoned.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, we want to show people the numbers because you're not going to make money on all of them. But my lenders don't lose money.
So how many properties do you ever finance it by yourself anymore, or you find it more advantageous to?
No, we do. I mean, if you have money sitting, like, and I'm going to pay somebody 8%, I might as well put my money to work at 8% and just pay myself 8%.
Right.
You know, which gets taxed differently than the short-term capital gain, right? Because if you flip a house, it's short-term capital gain. That's ordinary income. That's like me, you know, making a commission check or anything. I'm going to pay federal, state, Social Security, Medicare, everything on that.
Right.
Right?
But?
Well, if you're getting interest, you don't pay Social Security and Medicare on that money at all. It's like dividend income. It's like you pay less taxes on it.
Got it.
Right. So I'm always going to pay myself interest
this
on
is stuff we need
my
to
own
know.
Money.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah. If you're flipping houses with your own money, you know, a lot of people don't do this. They just show the government like, hey, I bought this house for 100. I put 50 into it and I sold it for 300. I made 100 after all expenses. Oh. Don't do that. That's stupid. If you use your own money, you know, give yourself a loan to your business from your own money and say, you know, it's 12% interest. You're allowed to do that. There's nothing wrong with this. 12% interest on my money. And, you know, let's say you made $20,000 in interest and $80,000 in profit. Well, now you pay less taxes, right? Because you made some of it in interest, you know, and you don't pay any Social Security, Medicare. It's just taxed differently.
Right.
Than a short-term capital gain. Like there are some houses that I know I'm going to make a lot of money on. Like, for example, I sold a house to the head coach of the New York Jets. You know, the new coach, Robert Saleh?
I don't know that, but you don't know Mr. Rogers, so go ahead.
Perfect. So, and I didn't know who this guy was until I met him either.
Right.
Like he's the new head coach of the Jets for like a year now. This is, I believe, his first year coaching. And I sold him his house in Harding, New Jersey, because he came from San Francisco, because he was a defensive coach for the 49ers. And he came to Jersey. He needed a house. The guy's got 7 kids. He needed a big house. So I bought this house for $2.5 million and subdivided the lot, Habu. Right? And sold him both, actually, because I could have built a house on the other lot, but he wanted it. He was like, I don't want you building a house in front of my house. I was like, okay. I sold it to him for $3.65. We made a lot of money on that property. And I made sure that when we scheduled the closing, we scheduled it after 12 months of me holding it. Why? Because I pay a long-term capital gain. So now I pay 20% in taxes versus my tax bracket of 39.6. So I saved almost 70%.
39.6?
Yeah, that's the highest tax bracket. If you make over $400,000, you're paying 39.6% to the federal government. But because I strategically held it a little longer, I saved 17% on the profit, which added up to be more than 6 figures instead of giving it to the government. And I'm all for paying taxes. I am. But don't give the government more money because they're probably like, what are they doing with it?
That's huge.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I've donated to nonprofits before. Like, you know, when you could like sponsor kids and stuff.
Yeah.
They tell you where your money goes, right? Like if you give $50 a month, they're like, they send you pictures of the kid. Like, hey, this money went to buying toothbrushes and this and that. Like they literally tell you where your whole $50 goes.
Not the government.
When I give a 6-figure check to the government, which we always do, I just wrote a 6-figure check. Lenny knows because I was like complaining about it. I'm like, where does this go? You know, I'm like, where does this go?
Ukraine.
I wish they broke it down for me.
At least you can see it, right?
No, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, right? You give $50 to a nonprofit, they tell you where it goes. You give $150,000, $200,000 to the government, they don't tell you where it goes. I wish they broke it down for me and said, this is where your money went.
Right.
Because then I wouldn't feel so bad doing it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, take advantage of the tax code, right? As much as you can, because they don't really tell you where the money goes. And no matter how much money you pay to the government, nothing changes. Right? Nothing changes for you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Facts.
that's why, like, we could have a whole nother podcast and conversation about
hell
taxes.
Yeah, like I was ready. I was ready to strike, but I mean, even a 1031 exchange. Could you use that in that scenario?
That's what I want to know.
In my scenarios, no, because you only have a certain amount of time to identify properties, and you can only typically identify 3, and then you have to close on it within a specific amount of time. So like a 1031 really wouldn't make sense for, you know, flipping the way that I do. You know, for something like that one, Robert Salih's house, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I could have taken that profit and do that. But a lot of people don't know that a 1031 exchange, the way it works is if you sell a property, you know, when you sell it, you identify a few more properties and you go, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put all that money into a new property. But what people don't know is that if you got a mortgage, right? On that one, we didn't get a mortgage, right? But if you got a mortgage, like I was going to do it on another property, and I'll explain to you, like for the average person, it's not going to work. You get a mortgage, well, you have to buy the next property for the same amount or more money than the total amount, not just your profit. Like you would think if you make $500,000 in profit, I could just take that $500, go buy another property cash or whatever, and it's tax deferred, right? It's a 1031. No. If I sell that property for 3.65, I have to go find another property for 3.65.
Sheesh. Yeah.
So I got to take all the money, right, and put it into the next property. Identify the 3 properties that I want, right, and then do that. I love selling properties to a 1031 buyer because if they don't close, they pay a huge tax bill. So that's a good buyer to sell to.
Right.
You know, and when you're doing a 1031, you could do it. You just have to understand, like, now you're going to have to, if you got a mortgage on this one and you sold it and you paid off a mortgage and you're only left with, let's say 500, but you sold the building for 1.5, you still have to go buy another property for 1.5 and get a mortgage on it.
Right.
Right. So it's like, it complicates things a little bit. So it's easy. It's, you know, it's a good strategy. You just have to understand the rules.
Damn. So what would you say to the regular guy out here that just heard a bunch of those numbers? And like, where's the start? Like, is it
not with 1031 exchanges? That's
no,
not,
just in
that's
general.
not where you start.
Just in general with real estate, right? Because you guys are so used to talking about it.
Yeah.
You sound like aliens. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, it's different if you have money or if you don't have money. And I always tell people there is no like first step. You know, it depends. Like a lot of people go, oh, I want to buy and hold the property. I go, okay, well, how much money do you have? I don't have any money. Then why are you focused on buying and holding? You got to focus on increasing your income. That's what you got to focus on, right? Like you're not, like it doesn't make any sense because if you think about it, like what's the cash on cash rate of return that you're really going to get if you buy a property? Like if you buy a 2-family house, what are you going to make? Like if you're getting a mortgage, you're not putting a big down payment. What are you going to make? Like on your money, you put 20% down. You need to save up money for that. Now you used all your cash, right? That you saved For how long? 10 years? To put $100,000 down on a $500,000 two-family? So how long is it going to take you to save up the next $100,000? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, do you have that long? Probably not. Now, let's say you take that $100,000 and you flip 3 houses for the year, right? You do them in 4 months each, and you do 3, and you made 50 on each one. Now you went from 100 to 350 because you made 50 grand on each one. That's a smarter move, in my opinion. Take that 350, and now if you make, even if you made a 10% cash on 350, which is not bad, 10% cash on cash, that's 35 grand. What are you going to do with 35 grand in New Jersey? That's not even $3 grand a month. What are you going to do with that? Nothing. It's no money. 35,000. It's good passive income over time. It works, but you don't want to put all your eggs in just that basket and then start all over again. No, you want to be smart about building up, stacking. Unless you buy a property that has a ton of equity, you put your cash down on it, right? It's like a 6 unit. You got it for a steal, right? It was vacant, so you got a good price on it. You come in, you put 100,000, then you borrow a little bit of money to renovate it. You renovate it, you get it all rented up, and now the thing is worth, let's say, $750, right? You refinance, take your 100,000 back out. You still got your money, now your cash flow. Now you have an asset with 100 grand in equity, plus you got your money back. That's different.
Yeah.
Right? Then you could keep moving. But what I hear a lot of people say is, I want to buy a passive income rental property. I'm like, great. Well, how much money do you have? Right? I have X. Okay, so you're going to put all your money there. And then how long did it take you to get that 50 or 100,000? How long?
Is that your main issue? How long it took you to get that deposit money?
How long did it take you to get that money for you to be able to do it again? To just go buy a regular property off Zillow? That's not how to do it. You either got to find an off-market property that has a lot of value add that you can increase, right, the value of that property and pull that money out, or do creative financing deals or whatever. But like, I think if you start out and you don't have that much money, you wholesale, right? Or you flip. One of those two. You don't start with buy and hold, right? Unless you're going after distressed properties that you're getting for a great number. You go in, you renovate it, you take all your money back out, and then you do it again. And then you just keep doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think a lot of people they start with the end in mind, and they think that's what you're supposed to start with. Like, I want to own an apartment building. Okay, that's great. Like, you want to own rentals to set you free, but it really comes down to math. That's it. Like, if you want to make $100,000 a year, you should calculate. If you're going to do it the normal way, you're not going to do what we do where we're finding off-market deals for a better value. If you're going to do it the normal way, you have to count on, if you want to make $100,000, you have to say, okay, if I make 10% on my money, how much money do I need to make 100 grand a year?
Right.
I need $1 million.
Right.
How much do you have? And then how are you going to get to $1 million? Right? How do you get to $1 million? I think my opinion is, if you can use Prada's programs and borrow 100 or 200,000, flip houses with it.
Right.
Like, why are you going to put that money that you're borrowing in a rental property? Like, how about we flip properties, pay that down so it's still available to do it again and again, and then now you have more money, so you're more credit worthy, and then you go up and up and up, right? Then you can get, instead of getting 100, you have 200.
Yeah.
And then you get 300, and then you get 400, right? Because your business score now is, 8, whatever the Dun & Bradstreet number is to get more money. Like, that's what you do. You could build, but you gotta think, what's the best way to build the fastest, right? Not just like, oh, I'm gonna buy one property and then in 10 years I'm gonna buy another one. That's shit. That's just doesn't work.
So would you say, obviously, flipping was made you a lot of money, but would you say the agency gave you the income to move the flipping faster?
Yeah, I mean, the agency makes good money. I was flipping before I was part of that, but I think what a lot of people don't get, that I try to teach my friends, is that when you flip properties, it's transactional, right? Like, it's transactional.
Yes.
Right. I buy a house, I fix it up, I sell it, I make 50 grand. I have no equity in my business. Like, I can't sell my business. Like, I flipped 20 properties last year and hundreds of properties in my career. Nobody's going to buy my business. Like, there's not one person that's going to come to me and be like, hey, I'll give you $1 million for your business because I know I could make X amount of dollars per year. Nobody's going to do that. My brokerage, on the other hand, is different, right? There's equity in the business. And if you look at business and you look at real estate, like transactional real estate, like flipping, you realize that you want to have both, right? Why? Because I'll give you an example. Let's say each one of my agents, and I'm not saying this is the number, but let's say that the way that they valued my brokerage is that each one of my realtors is worth $20,000. Like if I were to sell or value or appraise my business. And I have 500 realtors, so my business is worth $10 million. Are you guys with me?
Yep.
Right? 20,000 times 500. Okay, I can get 10 more realtors, right, faster than I can save $200,000 or build equity in real estate $200,000.
Right.
Right? So if you're, whatever business you're in, if you have accounts and you have a subscription or you have a technology or something where somebody, is paying you $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year, and based on the valuation of that business, that $2,400 per year is worth 5x, it's easier to get a customer to pay you $200 a month, right? And get the equity in the business than it is to build equity in real estate. Because building equity in real estate is getting a deal to begin with, right? At a good price from somebody that's getting divorced, an estate sale or something like that. Or you're adding value. I renovate the apartment. Now I can charge $700 more, whatever. And you go increasing. I put efficient toilets in it. I charge for parking. I put a vending machine downstairs. I put an ATM. I put a laundry, and I go increasing my income. That increases the value of a building, which is great. And over 30 years, that's fucking great. Right. But in a business, you're building equity faster. And that's what I think a lot of people don't really understand. And I didn't understand that. So I do both, right? I buy commercial properties, right? That I know for every dollar that I increase the income, my value goes up on average 14 times for every dollar. Why? Because if you are in an area, and let's just use easy numbers. If you're in an area where there's a 5% cap rate, that people will buy a building for $1 million that'll net 50,000, right? That's a 5% cap rate area. Like South Amboy might be like 7%. A Summit might be 5%, right? So if I buy a building in Summit for $1 million, a 2-family in Summit for $1 million, and after all my expenses, I make 50,000, that's a 5% cap rate.
Right.
Cap rate simply means return on your money. That's it. Right? I put $1 million, I get 50,000. Whether you borrowed it or not, that's a different story. But there's 50,000 left over before I pay the mortgage. Right? Well, think about it. If I get that 50,000 to be 100,000 because I renovated an apartment for 20 grand and now I'm getting more rent, or I do something else, I charge $250 a month for the garages, and there's 2 garages, and now I just get that from 50,000 to 60,000, that extra 10,000, right? If somebody's willing to trade $1 million for 50 grand, that means that for every dollar that they put in, right, they're paying basically $1 million to get 50. The multiple there, if you take 50,000 times 20, is $1 million. Okay. So if I increase it by 10,000, that means that somebody's willing to give me 20 times 10,000 more for the property. 10,000 times 20 is 200 grand. So now my building's worth 1.2 million.
Right.
Because that's what properties trade for in that area.
Got it.
So that's how commercial properties are. I'm giving an example of a 2-family, which is not commercial, but in a warehouse, in a mixed-use property, in an apartment building that's 5 units or more, that's all how it works. It's all cap rate. So if I can increase my income on a property by $1 and I can get $20 back for every dollar I increase, well, I'm going to reduce my expenses. I'm going to negotiate my landscaping and snow removal contract. I'm going to, the toilets are costing me money because they're flushing the toilet and it's not efficient. So if I go in and I put a $200 toilet and I put new toilets in, but it reduces my bill by $1,000 a month in water because they're efficient toilets, that $1,000 is worth 20 grand. But the toilets didn't cost me 20 grand. They cost me 10 grand. And now I have $20,000 in equity for a $10,000 investment. That's 100% rate of return on my money. I know I'm giving you guys a lot of numbers, but the point is, like, in business, you can increase it without making any investments. In commercial real estate, you could get a huge multiple. Tech companies sell for 10 to 20 multiples.
Or more.
You guys with me, though? If you own a pizzeria, you might get a 3 or 4 multiple.
I own a tech company called Cardfly.
There you go. 50x.
50x.
You guys with me, though?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you gotta know the math. And when I say, you know, where do you start? Get yourself a little knowledge. Get trained up. Understand how it works.
Yeah.
You know, because
That's Prada's line right there.
Yeah, that's it, bro. You got to study. You got to get mentorship. We got the 8-week program. Len and I, listen, if they watch it, come on, join the 8-week program. Come learn something. You got to learn everything you can about real estate. Real estate's never going anywhere, bro.
Never.
Ever.
no, it's not. And, you know, I have this thing, and it's instinctual. I don't know if it's true or not. Like, this is how I feel. You know how they're saying the market's going to crash, this is going to happen? What if everything does crash except real estate? Think about that. Why are hedge funds buying up real estate like crazy around the whole country? What if everything does crash except real estate? They're not building new real estate.
Right.
They're building apartment buildings to rent out, to hold forever, never going to come on the market. There's hedge funds and private equity companies buying hundreds and hundreds of homes. They're never going back on the market. And who's going to sell their house if they have a 3 or a 4% interest rate mortgage unless something devastating happens in their life?
Right.
Why are they ever going to sell it? Like, if you go to other countries, I've lived in another country. So every time I go to another country, I always research. And anytime you go to another country, it's so crazy. Like, you go to the grocery store, you're like, damn, right? Like, this is crazy. This is so expensive. But then you look up the real estate and you're like, holy shit, the prices are crazy high here. You're like, how do people buy these houses? Go to Portugal. Like, it's hard to buy a house if you live in Portugal with the income that they make. So a lot of people say inflation is going to affect real estate. Real estate's a hedge against inflation. You need building materials and land to have real estate. And if inflation goes up, the cost of building materials goes up. So that way it's more expensive to buy a house and it's more expensive to build a house. So what's going to happen to the value of that real estate?
Right.
I don't know. You know, what if everything does crash? Stocks, this, that, the other, but real estate doesn't. Or maybe it goes down a little bit, but then over time, we're in an environment where, yeah, things are a lot more expensive in the U.S., including real estate. It's your hedge. And if you look around at your family, your friends, you know, your parents, whatever, they are able to survive because of home ownership, the majority of boomers. That's the only reason they can survive, because they bought a home, because they have equity in their home and they could sell it, get all that money tax-free, because if you live in a house over 2 years and then you sell it, you're tax-free up to $500,000 if you're married. Tax-free money. That's the best.
What's that rule? I think we were just discussing that the other day.
I don't know what the IRS code is.
142 or something like that?
I forget.
I don't know what the exact rule is, but that's what it is. If you're single, it's $250. If you're married, it's $500,000. It's the best tax rule ever, right? That in the United States exists. So now you sell your house in Jersey, it's worth $600, right? You pay no taxes, right? If you bought it for $100, you sell it for $600, you pay no taxes if you're married. That's $500,000 in profit. You take that money, you go to Florida, right? Then you withdraw money out of your 401k and it's state income 0% because it's Florida, not Jersey. And if you live there and you start withdrawing your money there, that's why people leave New Jersey, right? But that's the only reason that they can retire, because of their equity. Now take a tenant and a renter and they're 70 years old. What do they have? Fucking nothing.
Zilch.
No, the disparity between renters and homeowners is ridiculous. Real estate saves people. That's why we're a big believer in like teaching renters, like get over it. So like, let's go buy a house.
That's from the perspective of someone who doesn't do real estate for a living. For someone who does real estate for a living, would you be going with the Grant Cardone rent where you live, buy where you rent?
Everybody's going to talk from whatever experience that they have, or it's a justification of why they do what they do.
Right.
Because they don't want to be exposed. Okay? Like I sold my house for $3.1 million in Morris Township. We sold it. And then I went to rent at the Ave. Why? Because I didn't have the house that I wanted. So I rented. I paid $7,000 a month, which you might say that's crazy, right? You're in real estate. Like that's a $1.2 million mortgage. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have the house that I wanted. And then I bought my house and then I moved out of there and I moved to my house, right? So there is a time in people's lives where they can rent, right? If you're building up your credit, build up your credit. Like you can't own a house. Don't beat yourself up. Just get on the path to doing it. Mm-hmm. You have to ask yourself, it's one of the best strategies I've ever learned in life and in business, time warping. Time warp yourself into the future and ask yourself, when you're 70, 80 years old, are you going to be like, what would your 80-year-old self tell you? To buy a house or to rent your whole life? I don't know. I mean, if I fast forward till I'm 80 and I go, this person's wiser than me, right? Like this is 40 something years into the future. This person would be like, listen, buy as much real estate as you can.
Yeah.
Build your business up, right? Like build up equity, because in the future, what's this real estate going to be? 30 years ago, what was real estate? How much money was it compared to now? And what is it going to be in 30 or 40 years from now? I don't know. You can't save that money.
So with that said, let me time warp you.
Time warp me.
That's fire.
10 years from now.
Yeah.
What is your true goal? The fulfilling goal, not the numbers goal.
Impact. The more I know that in my journey, in my life, with my story, and it's not about money, it's about impact. That's what the documentary is all about. That's what actually being on TV is all about. The sacrifice of being on TV is tough. Like the amount of work and everything that you have to do. A lot of people don't know what happens behind the scenes and how much work it is, how much filming it is, how much of a sacrifice it is. All that is simply for being able to have more of an influence and impact and share the messages that I share in that documentary. If you could say, hey, you could be on national TV or you can make your documentary be viewed by the same amount of people, I'd take that switch all day long right now.
I heard that.
You know, like that's what it's about, because that's what those perspectives are everything in my mind. You could read as many books as you want on practical real estate.
Sure.
If you don't have the mindset, nothing matters.
The 80-20, man.
Yeah, nothing matters.
The 80-20 rule. You know
Right.
the 80-20, right, Chris?
Yeah.
I mean, 80% of it is really, it's just who you are, your mindset, your mental
So probably
framework,
where you see yourself in 10 years.
I don't know. Come
You'll
back
be
to
43.
me. Come back to me. Go to
Lenny,
Lenny.
where you at? Where you at, Lenny?
Somewhere in Florida.
See, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
Yo, thank you for coming. This
For
was
sure, man.
amazing. This was inspiring. Prada, any last words before we go?
Man, this was great, man. This was a nice session, John. I appreciate
Appreciate it,
everything
guys.
you said, every word tonight. It was great, man.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
can't wait to have you back.
Appreciate it.
Free game, actually.
All right, my brothers. Until next time,
Yeah.
Good stuff.
let's get active.
You don't have an outro? You had a whole intro.